What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HnH Podcast. I am your co-host, Hamza Rana, joined by my older brother, Huzaifa Rana. And we are super excited for this episode. Huge week last week. NFL's back. We're super excited. Huzaifa, man, what a pretty fun last week. How you feel?
It was a great first week, man. Super happy football's back. We had some great games on Sunday. Obviously, the Cowboys game on Thursday, which we'll touch on in a second here. But overall, man, just super great games this weekend. Intense games. Obviously, the Sunday night game was unbelievable. Monday night game with the Bears and the Vikings was pretty crazy. And just throughout the day, there was a lot of really good games. And I'm really excited to get into that today. Hamza, with you.
For sure. We're going to go in a bit of a deep dive today of the games that happened this past week and, what games are most excited for this up-and-coming week and, the usual Cowboys talk. So we're super excited. Let's start it off. Thursday night, Cowboys versus Eagles. Eagles held up the banner. The Super Bowl, I don't know what Super Bowl it was. I don't know the exact number. Held up the banner. It was a pretty big game. Everyone was excited in Philadelphia. To start off the game, somebody got injured actually on kickoff.
Someone got injured, yes. Hopefully, I think he's out for the year. By the way,
That's very unfortunate. I really hope he's all well. But less than 10 seconds into a game, Jalen Carter gets ejected from the game because he spat on Dak Prescott. I want to hear your deep dive on what you were thinking. What did you even see at first? Like, what was going through your head when that whole thing happened?
Okay, so first of all, before anything, spitting on another individual is probably one of the nastiest things ever. First of all, Second of all, the fact that it happened before any snap of the game was unbelievable. We were sitting down here in the basement, and the flag flew. There was a flag on the play, and I thought, oh my god, here's another Cowboys holding or another Cowboys penalty of some sort. And then all of a sudden, you see Jalen Carter literally spitting his meal onto Dak Prescott's neck before the game started, and I could not believe it. Obviously, big loss for the Eagles, and like Matt, that's their best defensive player, and the Cowboys obviously capitalized on that first drive, had a great game overall, which we'll get to in a second. But I was just in complete shock. And then a couple hours later, there was the other angle of Dak spitting in the general area of Jalen Carter, and Eagle fans, like they always are like, oh, Dak spat first. That was well warranted what Jalen Carter did. First of all, spitting on the ground, you're allowed to do. Okay, Dak did the ultimate rage bait play of the year. He gave him a little look. He's like, I'm out here. Spat in the area, wasn't directed at Jalen Carter, and then Jalen Carter obviously retaliates with a spit on the neck. I think it was just the top of the jersey.
It was like right here.
Couldn't believe that. But from one thing I noticed from Dak too, and he said it in the post-game press conference, was he actually approached Jalen Carter because Carter was talking some trash to our rookie right guard, Tyler Booker. So Dak's obviously defending one of his guys. Little altercation. I love that from Dak. Honestly, that was pretty cool to see him. A little bit of moxie. But yeah, what was your reaction? Because that was insane. Like, you're spitting on a guy is nasty and insane. And obviously he didn't get suspended. It looks like he got fined. Only, which is honestly like he basically got eliminated from the whole game. So I can understand the NFL's perspective on not suspending him further, but that was just insane, dude. That was insane.
Yeah. When I first, because we were watching the game together, when Jalen Carter walked off the field, we got so excited, like oh my god, like we're gonna win this game, it's over. But then we actually saw what happened. I'm like, yo, what a POS. Like, dude, there's like, I can't believe he just spat right on his neck. And it was a good shot too.
It was a good shot.
And it came like this. It wasn't a forward one. It kind of went sideways, and it went right to him, right on the neck.
You see the water boy in the middle? He was looking at it.
He was like,
I know, he couldn't believe it. That was crazy.
He didn't know what to do. But yeah, no, I genuinely thought after the first drive we were gonna win that game. I'm like, this is something different. Like I haven't seen this type of Dallas offense since 2023 when it was Mike McCarthy's first year being the when he was first year calling plays. I'm like, dude, this is like no way. Like we're so back. And shout out to Javonte Williams too. He had a really good game. I
Yeah,
believe I saw a stat where this is the first time he's had a 2 touchdown game since his like rookie year.
yeah,
So a guy who's been kind of shunned off all in Baltimore for the last couple of years, and really trying to make a name for himself again in Dallas. I think Javonte Williams had a great game. Don't get me started about Miles Sanders. Um, we'll talk about that later. But overall, like it was a very entertaining game. It was just, this is the type of division rivalry game that you would want to see.
for sure.
Lot of commotion between both teams. Great plays from both Philadelphia and Dallas. Saquon Barkley stiff armed the hell out of Kenneth Murray. And then the CD drops were super unfortunate. Also CD with that he had that horse collar play whatever on Reed Blankenship or with
Pickens.
Cooper DeJean.
Pickens.
Yeah, no Pickens. Yeah, that's what he
Yeah,
said.
yeah. You said
Yeah,
CD.
Pickens. Yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, it was a very action-packed game. Both quarterbacks played extremely well. The Dallas defense at first was really, they were very questionable at first. I thought their run defense was good when Kenny Clark was on the field. When Kenny
Yeah,
Clark was on the field, Dallas had a really big impact on the run game. But going in the second half, it was just a defensive game. The Philadelphia only made a field goal, and that was the only points in the second half. But
yeah.
overall, despite not winning, I think I do have super high hopes for Dallas this season.
Yeah, honestly, people around the league, even buddies of mine, were messaging me saying, Eagles by a million and the Cowboys are going to get destroyed, obviously, without Micah. And people just hate on the Cowboys for whatever reason. But I think, honestly, people who understand football and actually watch the game and understand kind of what's happened throughout the season, in the beginning of the season, Dallas surprised a lot of people. I think they established a really good running game in the beginning of the game. Obviously, our defensive line, they still generated some decent pressure. Obviously, we got to figure out a way to be able to manage the quarterback when he's outside the pocket. But we were able to stop the run game in the second half. Kenny Clark was honestly super impressive. Marshawn Nealand. Overall, it was a really, really encouraging Dallas Cowboys game and something they can build on. Look, you take away Miles Sanders' fumble, you take away 3 CeeDee Lamb drops. We're sitting here talking about an unbelievable Week 1 win in Philadelphia, Super Bowl banner night. But it's a game of inches, and give Philly credit. They obviously did what they needed to do, and it kind of felt like they were responding every time Dallas had done something. So give them their credit. But from a Cowboys perspective, if you just look at it from a Dallas perspective, man, if they play the way that they did, minus a few a few small things, I think they're going to be in good shape. So overall, good game. I was really impressed with Dak, man. Honestly, he gets. Everyone knows I'm a big Dak guy. The Dak hate is unbelievable. Like I don't understand why people hate Dak Prescott so much. But he showed up, played a really good game. Hamza, were you worried a little bit with his hamstring because he was actually able to roll out a few times. He extended some plays with his legs. Was that something that you were a little bit worried about, or kind of it was not?
No, not really. I think we saw a fair amount of clips from camp where we seen him kind of move around and be able to throw on the run, and also he made a lot of plays where he was extending and running for. I don't know if he got a first down on that one play, but he was moving around. He would move around really well in the pocket. He was creating a lot of plays, making a lot of what's the word? He was making something out of nothing
Yeah,
during in during the game.
yeah.
He was making a lot of plays, so I wasn't super worried about that. We don't talk about his drip. How do you feel about the one arm sleeve?
Oh, it's so nice. He probably has the nicest drip I think in the NFL from a quarterback perspective. Like he looks nice.
One thing I wish though, I wish he had an extra, just a half sleeve on
Yeah,
his other arm.
yeah, no, but no.
That would
Overall,
make
he
sense.
looked great. Question for you, Hamza. Was AJ Brown playing on Thursday?
I think he was hurt.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure one of our DBs who was injured all year, kind of showed up, wasn't expected to play, completely shut down AJ Brown. Uh, that was a nice thing to see. Obviously, we're talking about
Mhm.
Trayvon Diggs. What were your thoughts on him, Hamza? We weren't expecting to see him since till week 3 or week 4, and he came in and absolutely. I didn't even know AJ Brown was playing football. He had that nice
Mhm.
catch at the end of the game, sure, whatever, take that. But I didn't even notice him at all. Maybe he thought the game was on Friday. But what were your thoughts on Trayvon?
Uh, no, Trayvon Diggs played great. Super impressed with how he played, especially coming off injury. I think Diggs, I think I'm really happy with our secondary. Even though Kyrie Elam did leave that one big play to Jahan Dotson, he didn't
Oh
play
my god,
terrible.
that was so annoying.
He didn't play terrible. Deron Bland is played great. I think now you can have the conversation with Deron Bland being one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the NFL. Deron Bland played great. Trayvon Diggs played great. I'm not too worried about a secondary. Um, I think there's so many games left, and I think there's lots of room for improvement, and this goes for every team, not just Dallas. And I think moving forward, I think our secondary will be fine. Just another thing I want to say, and you and I were talking about this all week, and even during the game, and even everyone in the Cowboys group chat was talking about how pissed we were. Why isn't number 35, Marist Liufau, playing more?
Oh my
And
goodness.
this is a guy, Marist Liufau. From what I've seen him, even in college and even in the NFL when DeMar Overshown got hurt last year, this guy's a dog. Like I don't know, I don't understand why. The one thing that we're missing, there's something wrong with Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn. Like what I mean wrong, like their pursuit angle is sometimes off.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about Marist Liufau, he has very, very, very good. It's very good pursuit angle. Like
Sorry,
nothing.
I'm laughing because remember when, and for everyone who's not a Cowboy fan and a Cowboy hater, calm down. Please calm down. We will get to the other games this week. Just obviously, we're a Cowboy fans, so we're going to talk about them a little bit more. But I'm laughing, Hamza, when on the kickoff, when Cowboys kicked the ball off to the Eagles, and you literally said, like, Marius Leofau's going to destroy this guy. And Marius Leofau, who is a draft pick from last year, absolute stud from Notre Dame. He is going to be a player to watch. But he came out there and absolutely destroyed the kick returner for the Eagles.
I was like, while the kickoff was going on, I was like, watch Maris, watch Maris, watch
And
Maris.
then
Pow! Just destroyed- just
he's a
popped.
dog. And he
Yeah.
somehow, I want to understand too, I question, you would think that if your face mask gets pulled down, the other guy would get the flag, but I guess not. Marius got a
Who knows?
penalty for Blankenship literally took off his helmet.
I think it was DeJean.
The Gene, whatever, they look the same. Um, uh, but yeah, so Marius, I think he's going to play a little bit more. He has to, especially
Yeah,
against
too.
mobile
And
quarterbacks.
yeah,
He's gonna.
exactly. I think one thing that we were missing is, like I said before, he's also very good. He's a good side to side linebacker.
He
What
is,
I
yeah.
mean by that, if he was all the way up at the will and then running and the run goes to the opposite direction, he will make that space
Yeah,
and he'll be able to get that tackle. We did
for
see
sure.
that once from Kenneth Murray when he was lined up at Sam and he was able to go all the way around to tackle Saquon Barkley for a loss.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that's something Cowboys need. They have to play someone like Marist Liufau, especially if DeMarvin Overshown isn't going to be back for another couple weeks. So yeah, that's Cowboys on Thursday. Is there any other game that kind of stood out to you this weekend?
Yeah, for sure. Last thing before we do that, quickly, AJ Brown had one catch for 8 yards the entire game. So
And that was
he,
only on Kyrie Hill. It wasn't even
Kyrie
on
Elam, yeah.
Trayvon.
So I think he's playing. Yeah. So Trayvon Diggs is back, and get ready for that. So other games this weekend, man. Where do I even begin? There were some really, really, really good games this weekend. Chargers and Chiefs obviously was super entertaining. Justin Herbert played at an unbelievable level. Sunday, fast forward to Sunday. Um, Obviously, Green Bay and Detroit kind of it was so weird seeing Micah play there,
Yeah,
but he made an impact.
the Green Bay Packers fans don't deserve Micah. When Micah went out, and
Yeah,
the entire crowd went crazy. I'm like, dude, like,
yeah, he had a garbage time sack, but at the end of the day, he made an impact. He forced a turnover. He made a couple good rushes, so that was
is
really
it
good.
just me or did Micah's drip progressively over the years get worse?
I know it's the colors, man. It's the green and gold. I'm telling you.
Maybe it could be, but I don't
Um,
like his drip.
But one game I do want to talk about in a little bit more detail is I also previewed it last week was the Steelers and the Jets. That was a beautiful game, obviously, to start Sunday at 1 o'clock. Justin Fields against Aaron Rodgers, Steelers versus Jets. Obviously, both quarterbacks played for the opposite teams last year. Honestly, give credit to Justin Fields. Obviously, I think he played really, really well considering the defense he's up against. He, was able to extend plays with his legs. He found Garrett Wilson for a touchdown. Overall, I saw, in just one game, I saw a lot of improvements in Justin Fields' game. And then obviously Aaron Rodgers, man, 4 touchdowns. He was just wheeling and dealing that game. He had a
Mhm.
really, really good game. And man, Pittsburgh may have something there with that offense and DK and Calvin Austin. Sorry, he
Yeah.
played well too. So overall, I think that was a really, really good game.
And they
And
also just signed
Jabril
Jabril
Peppers,
Peppers from the
yeah, yeah.
Patriots, who
They're-
honestly, like, he's still a really good safety. I don't know how or why he got released from the Patriots in the first place.
Yeah, so
So
just quickly, Aaron Rodgers, I have the stat here: 22 for 30, 244, and 4 touchdowns. Honestly, you couldn't ask for a better start. What were your thoughts on that game or any other game, Hamza?
yeah, I was watching that too. I had Garrett Wilson in fantasy, and I was also playing against him, so it was a little bit of annoying. But dude, yeah, Justin Fields actually played super well. I think that's. I don't know if that's like, how would I say this? The thing is with Justin Fields, you need him to be able to use his rushing abilities. Like, you need him to be able to at least score at least a touchdown using his legs, or at least running for a big play for the Jets offense to be good. Justin Fields, he did throw really well, but the thing is with Justin Fields that makes him so special is that he's super fast.
Yeah,
And if he's able to, use that to his advantage, which he did very well. I think he had 2 touchdowns that game.
yeah,
He had 2 touchdowns, and he also threw a really nice ball to Garrett Wilson. I think, hey, honestly, especially the way Miami played, I think the Jets could be a potential playoff contender. We don't know. Also, the Patriots lost to the Raiders, so we don't
Fields
know.
had Fields had 1 touchdown. He was 16 for 22, 218 yards, and 1 touchdown.
He also rushed for one too, right?
I'm trying to see here, rushing Justin Fields. He had 2 rushing touchdowns.
2 rushing touchdowns. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
12
Good.
carries for 48 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, an average of 4 yards of carry. So
And
he
he
had a
played great.
yeah. Um,
So, also another game I want to talk about is we mentioned it earlier, but the Green Bay Packers in Detroit. Dude,
Defense is crazy, man.
I know Detroit fans are not gonna like what I'm about to say, but dude, there's a good possibility that they become last in the division after what I saw from what the Bears and the Vikings, and obviously the Packers. Dude, that division is also super stacked, and I think the Bears could make a lot of noise, especially with Ben Johnson. We saw that right away. The Ben
Yeah.
Johnson effect on the Bears offense. Only issue with the Bears is that their O line was not good at all.
Mhm.
But yeah, anyways, back to the Packers and Lions game, dude. It was just pure domination. The Packers were just destroying them. Yeah, I think, like I said before, the Ben Johnson effect was real, and I don't think the Lions will be as successful offensively as it were without or with Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I couldn't watch too much of that game because I was out, but just watching the highlights and seeing what other analysts and stuff had to say, from a small sample size, you can start to see the impact without Ben Johnson in Detroit. Jared Goff, he's a rhythm quarterback, a lot of play action. They didn't do much of that. Jameer Gibbs, he rushed 9 carries for 19 yards. Wasn't the best game for him. That offensive line that you mentioned was stopped a lot. On the flip side, though, you look at Jordan Love. 16 for 22, 188, and 2 touchdowns for him. That was really impressive excuse me, for him. You had Jaden Reed and you had Tucker Kraft with the 2 receiving touchdowns. Green Bay looking pretty good. Obviously, week one, we'll have to see how they continue to play, but defensively, you can immediately see the impact it has when you have a generational player like Micah. He was on a snap count, but um,
He
he
made an
looked
instant impact right away.
instant. First play, I watched that. The first play, he got under Panay Sewell and forced Jared Goff out of the pocket. So
Mhm.
that was like, he's going to be, they're going to be a good team this year. But another game Hamza wanted to talk about. Do you have anything else to say about that game?
No, no. I think
Uh,
I
okay.
wish I did see more from Matthew Golden though,
Yeah, that's
but
week. He'll turn around. He'll turn around eventually.
he will. It'll be good though.
Hamza, what are your thoughts on the Sunday night game, man? That was must see
Dude.
TV. Probably a candidate for game of the year. Uh, Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. Hamza, what are your thoughts on
Mm.
that game?
So I was watching the game up until a little bit of the third quarter, and that was when the Ravens were winning. Dude, the fact that Derrick Henry can still do what he can do at his age is
Unbelievable,
like unbelievable. Like I
unbelievable.
don't know, like how like he can. Like you can't slow him down. Like he also can't slow himself down.
I know.
Like I don't know how Derrick Henry does it. He's still so dominant and scary to try to
Yeah,
tackle. But Lamar Jackson, dude, he also played a phenomenal game. We love that word, phenomenal.
phenomenal
Um,
is probably the best word of all time.
it's a phenomenal word.
It is. Speaking of
But Lamar Jackson, he played unbelievable. Like that game was not on Lamar Jackson. That game was
the defense,
on Derrick Henry fumble, but also that defense, and also Josh Allen played phenomenal. I don't want to keep saying that word, man. Josh Allen played great, and Keon Coleman, man, someone who I was super high on last year, is really showing what he's truly about. Keon Coleman last year, in my opinion, was one of the best receivers in that draft class. It was super stacked draft class, by the way. Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Roma Dunze, Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Keon Coleman. I do. That's a
that's pretty
Xavier Leggett. Like that was a really good draft class. But yeah, Keon Coleman played like the guy that Bills fans and NFL fans were expecting coming out the draft, and I think that's something to really watch out for, especially the way Josh Allen's playing. You have a guy like Keon Coleman who could just jump up and snag over everybody. He also
good.
was creating a lot of separation on his routes too. It's something that he proved on this season was be able to create separation on his routes because he had a little bit of issues with that last year. But yeah, Bills look great. I didn't even know who. I thought the Ravens won the game because I went to bed early because I had work in the morning.
Mhm.
I thought the Ravens won, and I looked at my phone and like Bills came back. I'm like, there's no way. Like I don't know how that happened. But yeah, it was a great game. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson both showing why they're the two best quarterbacks in the NFL. And yeah, it was a really good game.
So I was really upset because from a fantasy football perspective, I'm not going to say the guy's name because I don't want to give him credit, but I was winning by quite a lot on Sunday night. I was up 139 to I think 84 going into Sunday night football, and this individual, which shout out, he had a happy birthday to him as well, belated, but he he had Josh Allen and Zay Flowers, both of which went absolutely crazy. Zay Flowers, I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, seven catches, 143 yards for one touchdown on nine targets, and then Josh Allen, 33 of 46, 394 yards, two touchdowns. Like so, obviously from a fantasy perspective. Long story short, these guys came back and I ended up losing by more than 20 after being up by over 40. Um, so that was extremely frustrating Sunday night for me. But good game as well. Keon Coleman, like you mentioned, eight for 112 and a touchdown. He averaged 14 yards a
He had
catch.
two touchdowns.
Two touchdowns.
I think so.
I have it here, ESPN. Unless you're saying ESPN's a liar, I
Well,
have
or it might have been a 2 point conversion. Yeah.
maybe because Dalton Kincaid got the other one. So yeah, Keon
Yeah.
Coleman he had one touchdown. But that was a really really good game. And before we preview tonight's game between the Washington Commanders and the Green Bay Packers, let's quickly touch on the Monday night game, Hamza, the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. I'll quickly go first. I thought the first half was a bit of a feel me out process between both teams. Caleb Williams looked really, really good in the first half. But then I started to see, and then obviously J.J. McCarthy had that struggle, that pick six. But I was really impressed
Deshaun Wright.
with Sean Wright, the Cowboys legend. Um, J.J. McCarthy responded in a great way, Hamza, and I thought he led that team. Even the clips of him on the sideline, encouraging his guys, and that was really motivating for me to see a guy who's in his first year actually playing. That was pretty cool to see. But what were your thoughts on that game and overall? I'll ask you this: do you think the Bears are the Bears, or do you think Ben Johnson is eventually going to turn this thing around where they can be a decent team?
I think the Bears are gonna turn around because you also have to keep in mind they also had quite a guys injured. They're missing Jalen Johnson, their best corner. They were missing Kyler Gordon, who was their best nickel corner. They're missing their RB2, which is what's his name,
Johnson.
Roshan Johnson.
Yeah,
Um, which yeah, and also I think the O line will improve a little bit. But we saw a lot of flashes of what the Bears are capable of in the first half, and I just think just the Vikings are just that good. Their defenses were really well put. With Jonathan Allen, Jonathan Bernard. They have a good secondary with Byron Murphy. The good linebacker core with Van Ginkel. I think that's his name, right? Andrew Van
yeah,
Ginkel. Um, and the offense, they were also missing Jordan Addison, but Justin Jefferson is going to be Justin Jefferson, and then Aaron Jones, and we like we talked about it before episodes prior. Jordan Mason, he didn't on statistically, he didn't really do too well, but if you actually watch the game, Jordan Mason actually had a pretty big effect on the game,
yeah,
and JJ McCarthy, eventually he took over in the second half and showed everyone why he deserved to be a 10th overall pick in the 2024 draft. So I
yeah.
think I think the Vikings could possibly compete with the Pack. I think the Packers are going to win that division. I think it's going to be neck and neck between the Packers and the Vikings, and I think the Bears are going to finish third. And dude, I don't know what the Lions win.
Yeah. I was gonna say quickly before we move on to the next topic here was like from a quarterback perspective. Obviously, you and I play the position at high levels. When you look at Ben Johnson's system, and this is kind of like X's and O's. Ben Johnson's system's a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of rhythm throws. Rhythm throws, for those people who don't know, is at the back of your drop, the ball's out. So if it's a three-step drop, and as soon as that the foot hits the plant on the third step, the ball is out. Those are rhythm throws, and that's something that Ben Johnson's system, excels in. Look at Jared Goff. My only concern is I don't know if Caleb Williams' play style. He's an unbelievable athlete. I don't think his, at least from week one, we'll see how it goes. I don't know if his play style fits that. Why you on this is a great segment, Hamza.
So,
Um, uh, I don't think Caleb Williams's play style at this moment fits Ben Johnson's system in a rhythm type of offense, right? So you saw a few times yesterday or Monday, sorry, was at the top of his drop, the ball's not coming out. In large part, coverage and stuff like that was, it was really good coverage. But you saw him not getting the ball out. He was having to keep on extending plays and try to make something out of nothing. So, that'll be interesting to see. Obviously, this week it's Ben Johnson's Bears against the Detroit Lions, which we'll talk to in a little bit here. But I just thought that was interesting from a quarterback perspective. And speaking
yeah.
from a quarterback perspective, our QB spotlight segment will be changed up a little bit. Obviously, now we're in the season. So Hamza and I every week are going to quickly touch on one quarterback that kind of stood out from the rest of the pack and why. So for me, I'll quickly go first here. And Hamza, we'll make this short so we can get into our next stuff as well. I want to talk about Geno Smith and the Las Vegas Raiders, specifically, obviously, Geno Smith. Geno Smith passed for 362 yards for one touchdown. He had a QBR of 62.8 and a completion percentage of 70.6, which I thought was super impressive. Yeah, man, I thought he looked great. Obviously, he had, I think it was, one interception as well, which is, that happens in a game. But I thought overall he looked like he was in rhythm. He was getting his guys involved. Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, obviously Ashton Jeanty outside the backfield. And I don't think the Patriots defense is one to look down on. They made some big time moves in the offseason. Carlton Davis, Williams on the defensive line. So I thought Geno Smith played really, really well, and he was going to be my QB spotlight for today. And I'm really looking forward to see how he does this week on Monday Night Football against a pretty good Chargers defense that did really well against the Chiefs last week. So Geno Smith, that's my guy. Hamza, who's your guy this week?
My guy this week is we talked about him earlier. Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. Um, again, we saw a lot of flashes of what this offense could be. They have a lot of wide receiver depth with, obviously Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, and then you have two good tight ends with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. He had 188 yards, two touchdowns, didn't throw a single interception, and right now he has the third best QBR off week one, which is a 92.1. I think Jordan Love moving forward, I think he will have a good year. I think he can. I think he can be a all, not all pro, but I think he could be a pro baller if he keeps playing this well. And also um, he also did it against the Lions defense. The Lions defense on paper, they're really stacked defense with Jack Campbell. They drafted a rookie from Ohio State, Tyleik Williams. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson. Their secondary is still good with Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Terry Arnold. Who else is on that defense? They also have another white linebacker. What's his name? Long hair.
Uh, Van
Not Van
Ness,
Ginkel.
Van
No,
Ginkel.
no. Van Ginkel's the Vikings. They also have another white
Okay,
linebacker with long hair.
I'm not sure.
Something like that. But he's also super good in the fact that Jordan Love, he was super composed that game. Jordan Love didn't really make any bad decisions. He was, you know, playing the way you're supposed to play it in that system. And I think Jordan Love will have a great season if hope he's all healthy. I think Jordan Love will succeed with the Packers this season.
It's perfect. That's a good analysis by you. So now Hamza, quickly, that was week one. Let's move on to week two. Um, Obviously, let's start off every week. We will preview the Thursday night game. Um, this week, it's the Washington Commanders going into Lambeau Field and playing against the Green Bay Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. So Hamza, quickly, just what are your thoughts on that game? What do you expect to see? If you want, you can predict the game. You don't have to, but just quickly, your overall analysis for this week. What this week two game here?
I think this is a pretty exciting game. Packers versus Commanders. Two teams who expect to make the playoffs this year. Two great quarterbacks, obviously Jordan Love and Jaden Daniels. Um, you know, Also defensively, they're both pretty good. Dan Quinn up against his former former guy, Micah Parsons. Um, I think this would be a competitive game. We also saw a lot from Debo Samuel last game. Hoping Commanders fans are hoping they see a lot more of Debo. He was used properly. He scored a rushing touchdown last week. Didn't see much from Terry McLaurin, but it is what it is. Um, I think it will be a good game. I don't think it will be a game where they would go touchdown for touchdown. I think a lot of the big plays are going to happen later on in the game. I think it's going to be a game where it's going to be about maybe 24-17 or something like 21-7, something like that. But I have the Green Bay Packers winning this game against the Washington Commanders. I also and it will be a competitive game.
That's perfect. Yeah, Hamza, I think it's gonna be a really good game as well. I think if the Commanders win, their fan bases are gonna think they already won the Super Bowl. I think if the Green Bay Packers win, it's a week two win, move on to week three. So that's just the difference in their fan bases and kind of where they're at. But Jane Daniels, obviously, I thought the Commanders played okay in week one against the Giants. I thought they would do a lot more, just considering the Giants' defense. Besides the defensive line, there isn't really much to that. They were up 14-6 in the fourth until a late Debo Samuel touchdown to make it 21-6. So I was expecting a little bit more from the Commanders. I'm just worried about, obviously we said his name, Micah Parsons, that defensive line. He has familiarity with playing against the Washington Commanders. Obviously playing with the Cowboys. He played against these guys twice a year. So I think that is something to keep an eye on with Micah. And I do expect him to play a little bit more this week. Yeah, you know what? It's football. Football is football, man. You got to go out there and play the game. I also do believe the Packers are going to pull away with this one, just considering it's in Green Bay. Jordan Love is going to be playing well, and it'll be a close game. I think a lot of people think it'll be a closer game, but I do have the Green Bay Packers just because of their defense and the impact they're going to make. But hey, Jaden Daniels has already surprised a lot of people last year, so why can't he go and do that again in Green Bay? Hamza, any other games this week that you want to? Well, obviously we'll touch on the Cowboys and the Giants to end our episode here to preview that game for everyone. But any other games that you're looking forward for this week?
Um, yeah, there's actually a few, but I'll just do one for now, because we're running out of time. Um, I'm actually liking this matchup between the Bills and the Jets.
Okay.
I think Jets surprised a lot of people with the way they played this past weekend against the Steelers, and everyone thinks that or thought or they still could be a dominant defense, the Steelers. I'm curious to see how Justin Fields plays against this type of uh, Bills defense, just to see because they also have really good edge rushers with Joey Bosa, Greg Russo, and the rookie they drafted, Landon Jackson. And obviously they also have a good interior with Ed Oliver and T.J. Sanders, another guy that they drafted. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how the Jets do. Hopefully, the running game is more established. We didn't really see much from Brees Hall. We saw like one carry from Braylon Allen last game he scored, but that was like really it. That's all we saw from him. Um, Curious to see how that goes, and we know how dominant the Bills' defense is going to be. So yeah, I'm really curious to see also the matchup between hopefully a more improved Keon Coleman and Sauce Gardner. So I
Yeah.
think that's also a game to look out for.
In my game, I'm gonna go. There's obviously some really good games. Eagles and Chiefs rematch of the Super Bowl from last year. You have Ben Johnson going into Detroit playing against his former team in the Detroit Lions. You have obviously the Bills and the Jets that you mentioned. But one game that I'm looking forward to is a sleeper game. I think is the Denver Broncos in Indianapolis. I thought Daniel Jones looked great in Indianapolis last week. Uh, Honestly, he played really well. Looked like he was poised, was able to extend plays with his legs, and that Broncos defense is no joke. And maybe similar to Geno Smith, right? Geno Smith went around a few teams before he found his footing in Seattle and kind of took off from there. Maybe this is a situation now for Daniel Jones where he goes into Indianapolis and solidifies himself as the true starting quarterback for that team. And you never know. That defense is obviously very young as well. They have playmakers on the offensive side of the ball with Pittman and Jonathan Taylor and Downs as well. So, and obviously, forgive me for even not mentioning his name. Fantasy football, he's on my team. Tyler Warren, I think
He played
he's
great.
super underrated, and he's going to be, I think, one of the best tight ends at the end of the season. So that is a game I'm really looking forward to, and I think Denver has something to prove. Obviously, they had the win last week against the Titans, but I think a lot of us thought that they would win by a lot more. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond on the road in a hostile environment like Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be fun to watch. But
Someone
another
who I want to see more for Denver. I want to see more of the rookie they drafted, Jade Barron.
John DeBaron, yeah.
I want to see
Again,
more of
it's
him.
week one, so a lot of these coaches are slowly starting to put these guys in the right positions to succeed. Uh,
And they
excuse me.
also have a pretty good running back committee. They have like three backs: Dobbins,
Yeah, they do
R.J. Harvey. Not forgive me, but I don't know the other guy's name. Number 28, but he's also good too.
for sure. And Hamza, let's quickly now before we end this really good episode, our first episode after a full week of football. And this is something I hope our viewers enjoy. And please ask us if you want us to go into more detail about other teams as well. But obviously, the game that we're looking forward to uh, Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern, the New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. Hamza, I'll let you go first, and I'll finish it off. What are your thoughts on that game? What do you expect from both teams, and from a Cowboys perspective specifically, what are you most excited for that game?
Um, first Cowboys game at home this season. I'm super excited for that. We will be at the game. I wish.
No,
Uh,
we're not going to the game. Eventually, it'll be.
um, I think this is a big bounce back game for CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb always tortures the Giants secondary, and I also think this will also be a good opportunity for George Pickens to make, a big impact. I think they're gonna a lot of the times they're gonna shift their focus on CD. They're gonna forget about there's also George Pickens. I'm also excited to see a run game with Javonte Williams. Hopefully, Jaden Blue will be back in time. Um, Probably not, but we'll see. I think Dallas will obviously win this game. I think our run defense will be better. Um, Also, one thing we should probably mention: former first round pick Davion Clowney is meeting with
Yes,
meeting at the Star today
I forgot to mention
um,
that. That's right.
with Dallas. That is that when you first told me about it earlier today, I was like, it's just Davion Clowney. He hasn't been the guy since. But then you actually look at the film and you see what he's done. One thing about Davion Clowney is that people always forget about. He's a really good run stopper, and I think having an extra guy like Jadeveon Clowney just to be there, veteran too. I think that's something we're missing as well in the defensive end group. We have Dante Fowler, but I think also adding another one like Jadeveon Clowney can also elevate the young guys like Donovan Ezaraku, Sam Williams, and Marshawn Nealon. So curious to see maybe they sign him before the Giants game or like before Sunday, and hopefully we can maybe he's a Cowboy by then. We don't know, but I think that's something to keep an eye out. And obviously I do have Dallas winning this game.
That's perfect. Yeah, honestly, and we talked about after they traded Micah Parsons, right? Like you're losing a generational talent, but you don't really know the value of the trade unless you see what Dallas does with the cap space, with the added compensation, the draft pick. Obviously, you're not going to be trading a draft pick because he's a free agent, but you can start to see now depth, right? You have edge rushers like Marshawn Nealon. If you can add a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, who just 2 years ago had 13 sacks with Baltimore, you add a guy like that, and he had 6 sacks last year with the Carolina Panthers. Excuse me. Um, that can be something super exciting for that. But in terms of the Cowboys game, I'm really really excited for this game. Dak Prescott, as I've mentioned before, he has a really good record against the NFC East and against the Giants specifically. He's 13-2 all time against the Giants.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
he kind of owns that franchise. Now, obviously, we'll see what happens. I think we should not take them as lightly as a lot of other people are. That Giants defensive line is no joke. Abdul
Mm-hmm.
Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Kevon Thibodeau. I'm missing Brian Burns.
Yeah.
They have
They're
a
not
really,
gonna.
really impressive defensive line, and obviously Javon Holland on the in the safety room as well. So they're
They also
no
drafted a rookie, the defensive tackle. I don't know if he his name. Darius Alexander. He's also good too.
Exactly. So they have a good depth at that position. But at the end of the day, you mentioned you nailed it on the head, Hamza. I think George Pickens now he's going to come up and play super well. There was a lot of people last week saying to me like, "Oh, Pickens, Dak should have thrown the ball to Pickens. Where was Pickens at the end of the game?" I would argue that Pickens' value was shown with how much CeeDee Lamb was targeted, right? I think the Philadelphia Eagles made an effort to eliminate George Pickens, and well, that just gave CeeDee Lamb the opportunity to do what he did. Obviously, we want to be able to catch those balls, which CeeDee Lamb he'll bounce back, but I think George Pickens is going to play really well. This defensive line, like you mentioned with Dallas, they're slowly improving as well, and quickly as well. Matt Eberflus, right? You saw the adjustments he made in the second half of that game when we shut down Philadelphia. If you can start out right away with those adjustments and you can go into more of a man coverage type of look and send some pressure in Russell Wilson's face, I think it fares well for the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm really looking forward for that game. Obviously, divisional game, you want to be 1-1 and be able to compete. And if the Commanders lose to Green Bay, we win against the Giants. We're now tied, and obviously it's still super early, but you're obviously looking ahead as well. So I'm really really excited for that game. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it, James. Anything else you want to add on about anything or any questions?
No, I think NFL we kind of covered everything. Just super quickly. I know we're running short on time. This Saturday, LSU is playing against Florida. LSU is going to dominate that game. Garrett Nussmeyer once again is going to show everyone why he's the best quarterback in the country, and another reason why he will win the Heisman. Despite me, I know people are going to comment I'm wearing a roll tide wristband. I got this from a coach. So as a respect from a coach I'm gonna keep wearing it. Even though I don't like Alabama that much, it's a pretty cool wristband. But LSU all the way.
And
Um,
Florida last week lost to UCF, so uh,
yeah. So if
that
LSU loses that game, like
was
I
insane.
don't know.
That's um, no,
Okay. Do you want to close it up?
I think you close it up, man. You're great at the job.
Yeah, I'm doing a good job. Thank you. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the HnH Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and hit that share button. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the HnH Podcast. You'll see it pop up somewhere here. We appreciate all the support, and we'll hopefully, not hopefully, we will see you soon.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
guys so
Appreciate
much.
it. Have a good one.